Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Dark Magician Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for December 2023. Always love updating the Dark Magician deck, being an anime favorite. I know a lot of people who are fans of this deck, and definitely do rival it with the Witch's favorite, the Dark Magician, or the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. I'm definitely conflicted on this debate as well. Maybe I lean a little more toward Dark Magician. I always would get the Yugi starter decks over the Kaiba ones whenever I would see the new ones come out in store, but still happy with the changes I've made to the deck, focusing on a more pure build for the Dark Magician lineup. Let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. Our go-to boss monster is the Dark Magician with 2,500 attack and 2,100 defense. This is definitely my favorite art for the Dark Magician. I always love this one since the first starter deck and Yugi's anime art. So 3 in this card just so you have an access to your main go-to boss monster, whether it be for your fusion plays, your Xyz plays, or just summoning out this monster to then use with your many different Dark Magician spells. You have all of this available to you with this 3 of in the deck. We're also running 3 copies of Illusion of Chaos. This card was actually reprinted recently in the 2023 Megaton, so it definitely did help with the overall ease of getting this card for the deck and the price of it as well. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos form. You can reveal this card in your hand and add 1 Dark Magician or 1 non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Then place 1 card from your hand on the top of the deck. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can return this card to the hand. If you do, special summon 1 Dark Magician from your graveyard. If you do, negate that activated effect. So while we don't normally summon out Illusion of Chaos, we have this option available to us in the deck with some of the other spells that we run. Being able just to search out Dark Magician or any of the other cards that have it in its name or card text definitely do help as a search power. So a definite 3 of in the deck just for that overall play. Another search and setup card is Magician Souls, which we run 3 copies of. You can send up to 2 spell or trap cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard to draw that many cards. If this card's in the hand, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard to activate one of these effects. You can special summon this card or send this card to the graveyard to special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Magician Souls once per turn, but the draw power with your spell and traps can help just to mill through the deck to grab some of the more needed cards for your plays, but also just being able to have a special summon play and then a setup in your graveyard for the cards you may want to use later on is a big help, especially for just being able to send a level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can send that card and then be ready to summon it back with many of the other spell and traps we run. Also running 3 copies of Magician's Rod. With this card, when it's normal summon, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand. That specifically lists the Dark Magician in its text. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card or effect while this card's in the graveyard, except during the damage step, you contribute a spellcaster to add this card to your hand, giving you recycle power to then normal summon out Magician's Rod again. But being able to search out the particular spells means that you can just continue your searches by then adding cards like Dark Magical Circle to your hand, and then using that card to check more cards, and then also have the banish play whenever you summon a Dark Magician set up on the field ready to go. For the last of the 3 ofs, 3 copies of Apprentice Illusion Magician. I always went back and forth between how many of this card I wanted to run in the deck. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card. If it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. And during damage calc, if your other Dark Spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face on the field of the graveyard to have it gain 2,000 attack until end of damage calc. So this is a great way to powerhouse your Dark Magician, but also giving you a way to search it from your deck to your hand to then use for some other special summons, since a good amount of the cards that special summon the Dark Magician in the deck rely on special summoning it from the hand or graveyard. For some of the lower numbers for the Dark Magician support cards that we run in the deck, the 1 copy of Magician of Dark Illusion. This card, when summoned out, can just then grab another Dark Magician, so then you have access to your rank 7 Xyz plays, whichever ones you may wish to go into with this card. The 1 copy of Timaeus, the United Dragon. This is the replacement for the Eye of Timaeus in the deck, since we can use this card to go into Dark Magician the Dragonite for its fusion plays. The one copy of Dark Magician Girl, I feel like we just need the one copy. It's just here for another special summon target. I would say Apprentice Illusion Magician definitely does help with more of the overall summon and setup for Dark Magician in the deck, with the last of our main deck monsters being the one copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon. So we have a monster needed to send off with Red Eyes Fusion in the deck to summon out our Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Moving on now to the spells. For our 3-ofs, we're running 3 copies of Dark Magical Circle. When it's activated, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you can reveal one Dark Magician or spell and trap card that specifically lists the Dark Magician among them. Add to your hand. Also place the remaining cards on top of the deck in any order. If Dark Magician is normal or special summon to your field, except during the damage step, you can target one card your opponent controls, banish it. You're going to use each effect of Dark Magical Circle once per turn. So you have a card that makes your opponent play around when you would summon Dark Magician out into the field, because then you'll banish one of their cards that they have on the field after doing so. And then also just being able to, when it's activated, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and reveal a Dark Magician or spell and trap card. Gives you more search for some of the other cards we run in the deck, including another 3-of that we run, which is Soul Servant. You place one card on the top of the deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is Dark Magician or specifically lists it in its card text, except for Soul Servant. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, draw cards equal to the number of Palladium monsters, Dark Magician, and or Dark Magician Girl with different names on the field and in the graveyards. So this also helps to then recycle some of the cards back onto the top of the deck for you then to just draw again with them during your main phase with this card. And with it, you can only use this effect of Soul Servant once per turn, but you have that set up to then know at least what you're drawing into thanks to this quick play as well. We're also running the 2 copies of Red Eyes Fusion. We only have the one Red Eyes Dragoon, but this card, if drawn additionally, can be sent to the graveyard with cards like Magician's Soul for draw power. So opening up multiple Red Eyes Fusion will let us at least be able to get out Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, but then have more fodder if needed if we draw the multiples. It's just in here as an added search option to get out that boss monster. But Red Eyes Dark Dragoon isn't the main go-to play in the deck to begin with. We're also running 2 copies of Magician's Salvation. When it's activated, you can set 1 Eternal Soul directly from your deck. If you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl during the damage step, you can target one, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters, special summon 1 Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard with a different name than that monster. You can only use this effect of Magician's Salvation once per turn, and you can only activate 1 per turn as well. So you can set up Eternal Soul, which also helps for being able to special summon out your Dark Magician onto the field, and then vice versa, depending on which one you want to special summon out from your graveyard. If you have Dark Magician, then you can grab the one of Dark Magician Girl, and then vice versa from the graveyard, giving you that back and forth special summon power using these 2 cards. And then also for the 1-ofs, 1 copy of Magicalized Fusion with all the spellcasters we can set up. We can go for boss monsters like Quintet Magician using this card quite easily. 1,000 Knives as another Dark Magician search, spell, or trap, and then just a free destruction of a monster our opponent controls if we control Dark Magician. For the spell and trap destruction, having Dark Magician, it destroys all spell and traps your opponent controls, the Dark Magic attack. And then also the 1 copy of Illusion Magic for more search power of our Dark Magicians by tributing a spellcaster monster with this quick play spell. And then also the 1 copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. Now this is another fusion that you can use using monsters from your hand or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl as fusion material, or going for the ritual play by tributing those same monsters. So this is our 1 go-to way to be able to summon out the Illusion of Chaos if we wish in this deck as well. And then the last of the spells being the 1 copy of Call by the Grave. Just with all the special summoning we do, it's a nice 1 of tech compared to some of the other generic spells, just to stop any of our opponent's hand traps. Moving on now to the traps, I run 3 copies of Eternal Soul. It's searchable with the field spell, but still a very useful card. Every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use the following of Eternal Soul once per turn, and you can activate one of these effects. You can special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard, or you can add 1 Dark Magic attack or 1,000 Knives from your deck to your hand. So having searches for the 1-of spells I mentioned before, that means you can basically go from your field spell, Magician's Salvation, Salvation to Eternal Soul to then grabbing these cards. So more and more search power, just like we had with the Magician's Rod and the Dark Magical Circle. Also the 1 copy of Magician Navigation and the 1 copy of Magician's Combination for more of a special summon power off of Navigation, and also being able to stop the effects of face-up spell or traps our opponent may activate on the following turn. And then also with Magician's Combination, once per turn when a card effect is activated except during the damage step, you contribute a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl to special summon 1 monster with a different name from our hand or graveyard. So more of a quick play option compared to the field spell that we run for the setup of our different monsters between Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. Moving on now to the extra deck. For our fusion monsters, the 1 copy of the Dark Magicians. Once per turn, if a spell or trap or a card effect is activated, except during the damage step, you can draw 1 card. Then if it was a spell or trap, you can set it. And if it was a trap or a quick play spell, you can activate it this turn. If it's destroyed, you can special summon both 1 Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard. More setup for our 2 go-to boss monsters using this card than just needing Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl and 1 Spellcaster monster to summon this card out. The 1 Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, to go with our Timaeus Dragon monster as well. The 1 Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to use with our Red Eyes Dragon and Red Eyes Fusion. The 1 Master of Chaos. This is a fusion card we can use for our Chaos monster, being Illusion of Chaos. And then also the 1 Quintet Magician, as I mentioned before, with our spell Magicalized Fusion, being able to banish out the monsters needed to summon out this bigger fusion monster. And then for the Xyz monsters, the 1 Ebon Illusion Magician as more normal monster special summon out onto the field. And then also a banish option whenever one of them declares an attack. The 1 number 76 Harmonizer Gradiel, the 1 number 11 Big Eye, and then the 1 Zeus and the 1 Typhoon Sky Crisis for all of our Xyz monsters. And for the Link monsters, 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, the 1 IP Masquerena, 1 SP Little Knight, and the 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn for more of a generic lineup, but still some of the dark attributes that we have for our Link monsters is a big help with all of the resources that we have for some of our weaker monsters to be able to go into. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the big setup comes down to what play you want to go for in the Dark Magician deck. If you go for the Magician's Rod setup, then you have the search power of being able to add the Dark Magical Circle to your hand, activating this card, and then you have the choice or chance, I would say, depending on what you reveal off of the Dark Magical Circle. For this play, if you can set up cards or at least add a spell or trap that can get you more plays for your Dark Magician cards, you can either add cards like your cards that specify Dark Magician in it. So if you can add Magician's Salvation or more or less cards that can give you access to your Dark Magician cards, it's more of a better setup using your Dark Magical Circle to do so, because then you're just extending also face-up cards that will remain on the field with these cards. So Magician's Salvation can then grab Eternal Soul, but one of the bigger plays you need is to still be able to set up the Dark Magician in your graveyard, and that along with your Magician's Rod being your normal summon is where Magician's Soul comes in handy, because then with this card, if it's in your hand, being able to send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard to activate one of these effects. So then with this card, you send the needed monster, being your Dark Magician, to the graveyard, special summoning out this card, and then you have your 2 needed resources on the field, including Magician's Rod and Magician's Soul, to go into a Link 2 monster option. So on top of the Dark Magical Circle and the Eternal Soul that we have set up on the field, we now also have our new SP Little Knight as a potential banish on the field using the 2 monsters we summoned before, just needing the 2 effect monsters. Using the Eternal Soul the following turn, we also have the banish play with the SP Little Knight to take one of our own cards and our opponent's cards. The banish power when Dark Magician summons back into the field thanks to Dark Magical Circle, and then also being able to grab back those resources the following turn. If you don't have the SP Little Knight, you can always rely on just going into a monster that will, increase the attack points of your Dark Magician and Dark attribute monsters on the field as well. But then from there, you have protection in the form of Eternal Soul, and then coming down to just what you have for more of your monster setup during the following turn as well. Depending on what you draw, if you can get more of a setup like Magician's Soul, again, to set up your Dark Magician Girl, or more search power in the form of Illusion Magic if you draw into Secrets of Dark Magic, you have all these search powers available to you as well if you use Illusion of Chaos to grab the specific spellcaster you may not have opened up in your initial hand also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. And like I said, always love updating the Dark Magician deck. Definitely one of my favorites, and one that I'll definitely continue to update as the years go on. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.